We're here with Dr. Amanda Tavoularis. You're not Italian, though, are you?
No, Greek.
Greek. Greek, Italians, all good. And Deb Castillo. And we're here at the Rainbow Retreat Lodge. And I thought I was thinking about coming over what we'd talk about, because you've known Deb for how long now?
I want to say about 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Good grief.
Wonderful
Sisters now.
15 years, yeah.
But I was thinking about a couple things. It'd be nice because there's more women running practices now. We're actually at the retreat, there's more women that are coming in working with us, and just the dynamics of being a woman in dentistry. And also I was thinking about when you first started, we were just talking about that. You were with a practice and they just brought in, or they had consultants, but you were actually firing them. And just all this, you hear a lot of stories about consulting out there, and people think of us as vampires sometimes, but the cross, and we had a lot of bad stories, and we just talked about two of them. And I guess I'm kind of looking at this mainly for maybe younger dentists coming in. I know you've been doing this now for how many years?
20.
But when we started with
21,
you were just pretty new.
Yeah.
You were just thinking about going into buying a practice, a big decision, a lot going on, and how do you figure it out? And so I guess maybe take us back a little bit to that point, and kind of your journey a little bit, and what you found out, and what you're still learning, and how this process for you, what was the difference, and just kind of where you're at now. So
yeah. I've had two different worlds. So I've had a world where I was in a partnership and 15 staff members, and I couldn't make my own way. I couldn't utilize Deb or your skill set to make a change. And then when I actually did, connect fully with you two and embrace, what you have to offer, I was at a point where I could make change. I had, sold a partnership and started a practice that was just a different, it was a practice that he'd been there 35 years. He did excellent dentistry, but it was just not the style I wanted to pursue. Right. So, connecting with Deb was huge, to have somebody that could be a positive source, good influence that could help me shape a new team for comprehensive dental care, and take a practice that was mostly amalgam based and flip it in under a year and incorporate the team and have buy-in.
Right.
That's power.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't think of that when you were saying about it, but it triggered me when you take over someone's practice, and most people do. You're buying into that person's model. Mm-hmm. You don't really know that, but you're buying into that kind of philosophy, and then the fears about do I really want to practice that way, or I don't want to rock the boat, or how do I bring my core values into what I want to do, and how do I do that without making the thing fall apart?
Yes.
Yeah, people. And
that's an art and a science. And I remember, Deb, from the beginning, you kept saying, it's your practice. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, it's his practice. Mm-hmm. You bought it, it's your practice. That took a long time. I'm a slow learner, apparently, but it took a while to get. But I think part of that's beautiful, because you have to you have to understand how that dentist, I think, did things and the why before you can connect with the patients enough to bring them on board to your way. And I think I did that probably, too quickly as a younger dentist. As an older dentist, I probably would have taken my time with that piece, because it's the relationship and the connection. And you lose that, you get major attrition. Not that that's all bad. I had a fair amount. I probably had 10 to 20% attrition. But the people that stayed were solid. Mm-hmm. But it takes somebody with an acute sense of what's important, like you have, for why are you investing time in the relationship? You're investing it because they will stay with you. And if they stay with you, you'll develop a core group. They may be smaller, but they will spread your message quicker of who you are, and you'll just get to where that sweet spot is, where you can talk to somebody casually about dentistry and you don't feel like you're selling, and you're not. Mm-hmm. You're just explaining, here's what your options are. Mm-hmm. And then they buy in. If they like you, they trust you, they buy in.
Yeah, and it's interesting now, there's no difference than when you started 15 or 20 years ago. There's still no teaching on running a business. In my business, failed. I got a marketing degree. It didn't really teach me anything about systems, organizational development, profitability versus production, overhead, all these things that you have to do, how to be a leader, how to guide people. It's still the same. I read things change, but a lot of them are still the same. How do you incorporate the vision, the plan, your goals? How do you bring that to life when you're busy? How do you incorporate the team into that philosophy? Where do you start? You can read all the books. You've read a lot of books, Deb and I have read tons of books, the E-Myth, all these books that give you ideas, but how do you take that book and bring it to life? And the only way you can really do that, I still believe, is people, you can do it over videos or go to online, but experiential learning is just like you experienced a couple days ago with Deb and Jerry. Experiential learning is the only thing that really sticks. We heard that yesterday from Dr. Gary DeWood. People only remember 5% of what they read, was it 5%, 10% of what they see, but experiential learning is like 80% retention. And then how do you incorporate that and then also bring in people that share your core values and your philosophy of care and not that corporate dentistry is bad, because we heard that yesterday. There's a place for it. But if your vision is to move and stay in a health, wellness, private care model, what do you need to do today? Because there's a lot to do to differentiate yourself, and if that's the path you want to go and be. And so I guess I'm going to let Deb ask a question, or just what she's thinking about, because you've worked way more intimately with Amanda. And
yeah, my buddy Amanda.
Yes.
We have life that we've had together here.
Definitely life. Yes.
We've had life. But one of the things I think that has been fun watching and being with you, Amanda, is seeing your vision. And that was, of course, one of the things that we looked at from the very beginning, and very, very appropriate that we would when you were purchasing a practice, to establish your vision, and then to see that vision, the core of that vision, stay constant, but a lot of the other elements of that vision change as you grew and changed, and your willingness to bring team members along with that vision. Some shared it from the beginning, and of course those are always easier. Some would never share it, and it's difficult sometimes to make the decision as to, this person brings value to my practice. And I remember there was one key team member that stayed with your practice maybe a little longer than that team member should have stayed with that practice, but that you were very vested in that person and thinking that you could bring them along. And as your vision became clearer and clearer and clearer, then it became something where you made a decision that wasn't going to really work for that team member, and it wasn't going to work for the practice, and it wasn't working for you any longer. And I would say that's one of the things that I've seen great growth in. One, your technical skills have had, your investment in your technical skills, I think, certainly brought your vision to a greater level of clarity as well. And then just that process over time. And the fun part is that it never changes. And here we are again, going through that alignment and vision quest with your team and bringing them back on board. And I agree with you, Mark. I think if we're in private care dentistry, it is never, you're never there.
No.
But happiness, of course, in my mind, is not actually getting there. Happiness is feeling like we're moving in that direction. And that's where our bliss is very often.
I agree. I think when you're a younger dentist, you assume a consultant, like you and I spoke about this morning, you assume a consultant comes in, they fix your problems, they leave, you're done spending. That's your assumption. Because we are brought up to say, we can do dentistry by ourselves, we don't really need an assistant out of school, you don't really need this, you don't really need that, and that's so wrong. So it takes, I think, a level of maturity to realize you need a full support crew, and it takes a village. It's like raising a child. I've learned a lot from raising my son. You need many more people than you ever had. You really just do the dentistry well, and you hope to manage well and lead at some point in your career. But now my concept of a consultant is somebody who can be my partner, and who we can have those. It's never going to be a flat. I can't tell. No one's practice is a flat, stable, upward rising, curve to plateau at a point of rest and then continue up. That just is not a that doesn't happen in life, right? You have
Uh-huh.
the pits and the ups and the downs, and it's now I look at it as somebody that can be part of the fabric of my practice life. And what an exceptional person you are, and the service you provide is exemplary because you come into my world and figure out what is my style, and then you help me implement that. And the ability for you to always continue to be positive is impressive. Excuse me. We could edit that part out, but no, it's so exciting to me to see I have equal, if not greater, need now for you than I ever have, and I love it. It's you have a cup half full mentality that helps spur me on and create a team that we just had an amazing session yesterday. So I am thrilled with who you are, what you have in your wheelhouse that's so easy and seemingly effortless to you, but that makes a huge impact on my life and my marriage and all those intangibles that you can't relate. But it helps me bring a quality of women together, and that's where the beauty is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being vulnerable with that, because I think that vulnerability is powerful. There's a lot now out on that Brene Brown's book and all these other about sharing and being vulnerable with your team so they can understand your passion, what your beliefs are, and where you want to go, and surround yourself with people that are like that. It's key, and we're all the same. We all want the same things. I think we all want to have peace of mind, like Deb talks about. We want to have a predictability in some way. We want to have new ideas to spur us on.
And fun,
and
to get
fun,
to the
and
fun
laugh,
part.
and enjoy
Put the
the
structure
process.
in place so you get to the fun, where you're all together.
And that your team is clear as to the fact that certain benchmarks have to be in place.
Have to be.
And if they're not in place, then we have to be very available to say what changes have to be made.
Yes.
What are some of the new strategies we could employ? Because these things are absolutely necessary for the business to survive and be sustainable over time. And if it's not sustainable over time, then the fact that we've got a good, happy place to work is going to be short-lived.
Yes.
And I think one of the other things it's interesting because of the different dynamic with women being with women, and men, a male dentist being with women. I think the woman has a different dynamic with other women. And the reason I bring that up is because when Deb comes in, I always tell the male dentist, just like myself, I need mentors in my life. I need guides. I need people to keep me accountable. But I also believe women need that just as much. Good role models, mentors. And when Deb comes in, I think she comes in not because she's got a lot of wisdom, but I think her age. I know she's only 49, but I think women need to see other role models that are on a good path, professional. They're not egoed out. They're not thinking, I know it all, I'm the expert. And we were just talking about that. Do it my way, you're out. That's not how people grow. Come in as a co-partner. We're going to learn together. We're not competing. We're trying to complete each other's roles and help everybody get better. And I think when Deb comes in, she brings that kind of, and that clarity gives power to people, not in a negative way, but power to be who they can be, their potential, to say, you can do this. You got what it takes. You can implement some of these systems, and you guys can work together in this way, and it can be a great thing. And that's always a good path to be on, how to keep recreating, how to keep revisioning, recommitting, repurposing, have your team look at things together, not just for the practice, but for their life, for their families. And it's not just the finance. I know we work on the finance and the numbers, that's critical.
Right.
And it's critical for the
business,
team to understand those numbers and get control over hopefully money in their life, and we're all working on that, we're all in a process, but then start working on the higher things and purpose and what we're here for, how we're making a difference.
Yeah, I don't think they're separate.
Yeah.
I think they're a part of the same thing.
Right.
That if we're going to hit those targets and those numbers, then it's important that we're all on the same page and that we're all going in that same direction, because sometimes it will require personal sacrifice. I'm going to go home a little bit later than I thought I was going to go home. I might be seeing a patient a little bit longer. I might be putting up with a patient that their attitude isn't really one that I'm real comfortable with. I'm going to make personal sacrifices, but I bought into the fact that this is the road we're on, the direction we're going in, and it's critical that we hit these these
Yeah.
targets in order for us to be able to all be
Right.
together.
Right.
And
That's a good point. I think one of our doctors, I heard Dr. Doug Sanquest was talking to another doctor friend. He's a spear doctor, and he was talking to a doctor in New York, and he was talking about our work, and the doctor said, well, why don't you just send me the bonus programs and the things that they taught, just send me the sheets over. And our doctor that worked with us said, I'll be glad to do that for you. But he told him, he said, overhead is a leadership issue. And he said, what do you mean a leadership issue? He said, understanding cash flow, not just the P&L, understanding cash flow and the dynamics, that's a leadership. Understanding that is a leadership issue. Until you understand how that works as a leader in your practice, you'll never understand how those numbers work. And that really, oh, okay, I never heard that before. And so like you've grown that way. I mean, you've learned as a business owner what those monitors or benchmarks, and talked about that yesterday, knowing the numbers, the benchmarks and everything, so you can make wiser decisions. The numbers tell stories, like Deming always said. They just reveal things, and they show you where you need to go back to. And they're not bad to look at. Some people, I don't want to look at the numbers. Somebody does, I don't want to know the numbers. I don't know what my overhead is. It's okay.
Yeah.
But let's discover it so we don't have to be thinking about it all the time. We can get beyond it.
However, there's still a point, I think, in any entrepreneur's life that you look at the numbers, you know, it's not a natural for me, but you learn what to look at, you learn what that means, but you still have to take risk. I've hit a couple points in my career where you have to trust, have the faith, somewhat put the numbers to the side and say, this feels right, it feels like the direction, trust your instincts and go. And that to me is, again, a honed skill, because it's trusting your instincts.
Yeah.
And if your core value, if everything's in alignment and you can look at the numbers, have them as a reference, but in some ways go against your financial plan because you feel good about something.
Right. And I think you said a key thing there. You have to sometimes put aside the money, even though, like Dr. Gary DeWitt says, there's good debt, like investing in your business, your practice, investing in management consulting. You got to look at that as good debt, because if it's a return on an investment.
True.
And a lot of times that's a high risk. We want everything perfect before we take a risk. There's many doctors, well, I don't have the right team. I want to wait to get through all the right players before I bring you guys in. It's like saying, well, honey, I don't want to have a baby till I have, $200,000 in the bank. Well, what happens? We have the baby, and then I lose my job. I mean, do we throw the baby out? I mean, no. Sometimes you gotta take the risk. It's like, that quote was said yesterday about Alexander the Great. How did you conquer the world? In 3 words: by not delaying. By not delaying. I know I need to do this. My gut is telling me I need to go in. And usually, when you trust your gut and you take the risks that are good risks, and you take that leap of faith, good things are going to happen. If you have the right motives, good things are going to happen. It's not going to be easy, like you said. There's going to be ups and downs. The year we work with doctors, there's ups and dips and downs. That's just the way it is. But at least, you're taking the journey, you're taking the ride, you're taking the hero's adventure, you're risking, you're bringing people along with you, and that can only make you stronger.
So true. I remember the first month I signed on board with you guys, and I remember thinking, "Ooh, some money that I'm not supposed to spend." and then I'm so thankful. Again, that was a gut call. That was I'm going to go forward. This feels right. I couldn't do it in my partnership practice. I'm going to do it now. I want that. And I took in, I think,
Amanda, since I know you so good, it's so funny you said that, because I remember seeing your car, and I'm thinking, her car is almost as much as our tuition. And your car's not going to drive the business, But you got to put things in perspective.
Yes, that's true. Very true. But no, I'm just so thankful, I think it's interesting. It's what you think you're supposed to do. You get out of school again, not really realizing the value of a consulting, wing of it. You don't think of that as a partnership. You just think of that as an ancillary service, like a lab you might use, you might not. It'll be short term. You just don't. I don't know that you don't get that full concept that it can be. I mean, I'm like the bad penny. I keep coming back. Help!
Well, I don't think you realize how, really how isolated you feel in your role. It's not that you don't have people around you certainly do, but there's still a certain isolation
Definitely.
and a question as to do they share my same reference point, the people that are around me? And, and I would tell anyone, when you say know yourself and know your patient, and really do know yourself, if you're looking at bringing somebody on board to help you, you do need to be of like mind.
Yes.
And that is a gut decision to some degree. That this feels like this is the right group for me to go with. And there are just so many really, really good people that are out there. And some are a match for some are a match for others. And finding the one that is a match for you is a critical piece.
And I think what Deb said and what you just said about asking for the help, as I know at this conference, a lot of people know who Bill Bailey was, but he was a mentor of mine and he passed away a couple weeks ago. But I remember one of the things the second time he came to my house and he said, Mark, I'm going to tell you something else that you need to work on, as I see it in you, like in me. He said, you don't ask for help, you try to do it all. And he said, when I was 40, this is Bill Bailey saying, I said, I learned the greatest thing that really helped me in my life. He said, at 40, I realized it was okay to ask other people for help. And it doesn't seem like that's a big thing, but when he said that, he said a second thing. He said, he said, it took me almost 5 years to feel okay about it inside. It's like, wow. I mean, you made it, but to say, can you help me with this? It's okay to ask other people to help you in your life and to bring other ideas and strategy. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to figure everything out. And I think as an entrepreneur, a dentist, we're trying to figure everything out. But it's like Deb saying, if you can bring the right people in to help you, as I remember my father-in-law one time said today, why should I spend a year working with your school, your business systems? And he said, if you want to take 10 years and put them into one, why? There's a lot of people like Deb and I go to that have a lot more knowledge than us. And we're, but they've studied something, a craft, like even technical members like John Coy's or other groups out there, Spears, whatever. They've studied something and you can glean something from them that they've taken their life in and then take that knowledge and use it in your life in a positive way. And that's the beauty of other people on the path with you. You can take ideas like here, this next 3 days, people sharing ideas that they've taken maybe a long time to learn, but then you can spend some time with them and say, yeah, wow, that can get me on this path and I can excel my life in a positive way and make a better contribution, not just to yourself, but to others. And that's a good thing, So.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, I think we've talked too long.
Okay.
But I don't know, do you have any else thing to say?
No, I just, it's such a blessing for me to have the people that I've had in my life over the years that I've been doing this. And they're all great. I wouldn't say no. I've learned from every doctor I've been with, but some are even more than that. They're personally enriching as well as professionally enriching and life enriching. And that has been a relationship with you and I.
Yes.
And it's been a blessing.
For me as well. I wrote a card to you, but I put in there, I don't know where I would be without you, and I don't ever want to find out.
Well, you just got to keep Deb doing this for another about 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
I feel like it can't be me telling her this.
That's right. I know.
Yeah, I'll get my walker out there. I'll be fine.
We'll get you the Zoom.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for
thank you.
taking the time with us.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now let's get in there and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.